Hello everyone, CJ Miller from Through These Four Eyes. I'm here today with my good friend Tom Larson, just outside Larson Salvage Company, Catworks Art Gallery, and Midtown Art Gallery. Tom has owned these buildings for how many years?
We've been in these buildings for 60 years.
60 years. Well, today we're going to see a part of the building that no one has seen since, what, 1959, 1960?
Yep.
All right, Tom, tell us a little bit more about where we are and what we're going to be doing.
Well, I'm interested in showing you what hasn't been seen in a long time, but I'm also interested in appealing to the people on Memories of Bay City. If anybody knows anything about these buildings, I'd love to see pictures of former businesses. I've been coming here since I was a little kid, and the whole time Catworks Gallery was Joe's Bar. Before that it was Ted's Bar. And the place where we're going to go upstairs was called the Center Gym, and there was a fairly famous boxer named Bobby Johnson that used to operate this gym. They had Golden Gloves events up there, and I've talked to a number of people who said that, oh, I remember that, but I don't have a single photograph. I'd love to see some photographs. These buildings were built by a three-time mayor of Bay City named Gustav Heine, who was the mayor when East Bay City and West Bay City came together. He was a butcher in the meat business. One side was wholesale, one side was retail. I know that much, and there's a good article in Bay Journal about Gustav Heine. This was the original entrance when this was the Center Gym. It's again, these buildings were built in the 1870s, and I don't think anybody's really used it, so that we've only used it for cold storage occasionally, and as a result have done nothing like repainting walls. There's been no real heat other than what migrates through from the lower level. But it's pretty doggone interesting. It's like walking back in time. Watch your step there, CJ. It's a few places where plaster has rattled and fallen over the years. One of the first interesting things is there was a lot of peek holes in the doors. At one time, a barmaid from Joe's Bar, which was directly below us, told me that they used to have a lot of fun back in the 20s and 30s, and I assume she was talking about Prohibition. So this may have been like a blind pig prior to it being the gym. But if you pan around here, CJ, this was the big room where there was a boxing ring right back here, and I'll go back there and stand and show you where it was. The boxing ring stood right here, and from what I understood, they would set up folding chairs, and they might have 60 to 100 people watching a Golden Gloves fight. The interesting thing here is a chalkboard, which has been, it reads, "Notice Golden Gloves training starts November 1st, 1958. Hit the road, fighters." So that's been there all this time. There was so this was a gym where you would pay to come and work out and get some lessons from experienced boxers. My understanding was that the gentleman that owned it, this Bobby Johnson, had been a real contender and was a middleweight champion at some level. I don't know much about boxing, but way in the back you can see there was a place where you had a speed bag back there. It would have been right back there. And I can imagine during events, this was the old sign here from, at one time, part of the building, and for many years it was Hank's Auto. And it was a small chain. I don't know how many Hank's Autos there were, but they were here until around 2000. Small auto store. Then the other part of this building is, only thing I've done up here is I've worked on some large paintings and was going to do a mural on the wall at some point, which never developed. But this is kind of interesting. Some more stuff. Signage back from when it was the gym. Not responsible for goods left. Doors open at 7:30. So this room must be about 100 by 30. There's another room in here that's kind of interesting. Watch your step there, CJ. This part of the building was also used, I think, as a training area. There were showers in the back, and originally this would have had several skylights. That was a skylight right there. There was probably 5 or 6 skylights that had been boarded up over the years. There'd have been some decent, pretty interesting natural light in here. There was a place in the back where you've got to be careful. When this was the meat market, they had boasted that they had one of the first elevators in Bay City. And the other thing that they talked about, they had the first electrically refrigerated cooler, which you can still see the remnant of it, or at least the facade of it, is back here. My guess would have been that they would have butchered some things up here and then sent them back down in the elevator to the first floor. But you can see this has got a refrigerated early door with some kind of a switch or mechanism which has long been torn out. So supposedly, according to the article that I've seen in Bay Journal, this was the first electrically refrigerated meat cooler in the city of Bay City. This is what it looks like on the inside. I don't see any exchange tubes or anything what that would have been set up as. But now the other interesting thing is this boxer lived in the front part of the building. Here's a thing here that's kind of neat. This was their ticket booth. You would come in and for 15 or 50 cents or whatever, fight tickets sold here. Little ticket booth. This was the men's bathroom. Was down this way. Which none of this plumbing is any good anymore. And there's really no electrical up here. But this would have been a couple stall men's bathroom kind of a thing. And next door was the ladies' bathroom. Fixtures are still there, but yeah, boy, that's some old fixtures. Well, again, this would have, I'm not sure if they would have had these fixtures here for the meat market or not. But certainly up until the 50s or early 60s, there would have been running water up here. Now this would have been the residence of the gentleman that owned the gym. Another kind of an interesting looking little thing here, CJ. I guess we don't need the light for this, but this would have been a thing he'd have been in his apartment and would have had the ability to either, again, sell tickets this way, but sort of a buffer between the public and his private space. Kind of a neat old door. This, I would assume, is his living room, and this would have been, this by the sign in front says ladies' bathroom. It's a bigger area. Again, they had opposing bathrooms again. So there was decent facilities up here if you'd had a crowd of people. You wouldn't have had to wait in too much of a line to use the facilities. But one of the other things in the floor, there's an indication that says that this at some point was a VFW hall, number 3720, Veterans of Foreign Wars. So I guess what I'm really interested in, if anybody knows anything or has a picture from when this was the meat market or for when it was the center gym, boy, I'd love to have somebody post or share pictures from the days when this would have been a Golden Gloves. And you're not going that far back. So hopefully somebody will come forward. This was, I would assume, would have been his bedroom, living quarters. Then you're looking out the window and looking at the former Dunlop Pontiac. So this is the front of the building. This is a little room that's over the stairwell that we just, when we originally came in. Paneling that would have been the Celotex paneling probably put on in the 40s, would be my guess. Then the fighter's name was Bobby Johnson, and I think there's on the sign it says something about, let's take a look back out here, CJ. It says something about who the trainers were back in the day too. It might be some more names to work off of. Yeah, this would have been, this is covered with some of my art supplies, but coaching by trainer only. I think it was, there's a sign someplace that says, I think it's Bobby Johnson and I think it was Al Chamberlain were the coaches or the trainers. But that's pretty much the upper part of the building.
And this hasn't been really seen by anyone since what, 1959, 1960?
No, other than the people that owned Hank's Auto for a while used this as storage. At one time they had a lot of car rims up here and old tires and car parts. But other than just a handful of people that had direct access to the building.
So the general public hasn't been...
the public hasn't been in here since the late 50s.
Wow.
Kind of one of these neat things that a lot of second floors in Bay City never really made it into the modern era. I think there are a lot of buildings like this, and the reason being is that people need an elevator, and with the handicap access laws, you couldn't have a gym that would have, and there's no fire escape. There's only one way in. Well, there is a back staircase also. So that would be a big plus. But you can imagine that little narrow stairwell, and this is back in a day when if you were up here smoking, and heaven forbid if this place caught fire, you can imagine 60 people trying to get down that staircase in a hurry.
Yeah, no doubt.
Bad news. So, yeah, we never did anything with it because the economics really isn't there.
Well, as long as you can get information on those past businesses, the bars, and the boxing.
Bars, who knows what it's been in the 100 and, you're talking about what would it be now? Coming up on almost 150-year history.
Yeah.
So I only know the last 55 years since I've been coming down here. And I mean, that seems like forever, but I'm just tremendously curious to see pictures of what the meat market might have looked like or what this center gym looked like. And the meat market's been gone since 1925, but I mean, my thinking would be that if Gustav Heine was a successful mayor, he would have had photographs taken of his business because I'm sure he was proud of the achievement and the whole thing. My understanding is his residence would have been right across the street from where the armory, the old armory, would have been. So I know that there's people on the memories thing that are super history buffs. We've talked to people at the Bay County the Museum Historical Society and gotten a little bit of limited information. But boy, if there's somebody from either the Gustav Heine's family or something like that that had a couple of photographs, I would really like to see him.
Well, thanks, Tom, for taking us on a tour of this amazing part of the building. I would really like to make sure that we get this out to anyone in Bay City who can possibly help, get you some further information on any of the businesses that you mentioned that were up here. Personally, I would like to see something from the boxing era, and
I would think that's got to be available because a lot of people would have come up here for Golden Gloves.
Yeah, and I would love to, see a couple pictures of the ring there with some boxers in it. I mean, I think that would be amazing.
Oh, it'd be wonderful to see.
So if anyone out there who's watching this, particularly on the Memories of Bay City Facebook page that Tom and I belong to, if you can help us find some photographs or some more information on the businesses that Tom spoke of that were in this building on the second floor, please contact me through These Four Eyes Facebook page, or Tom through Larson Salvage Facebook page, or
Just on the telephone,
Yep.
whatever.
Any way that you can get us the information, please do. We thank you for your time, and we hope you've enjoyed this little tour with us.
Thanks, CJ.
Thank you. This video was brought to you by our sponsors: Best Choice Pizza of Cuckholland, hometown, handmade, gourmet pizza, and home of the best pizza buffet in all of the Tri-Cities.